But let's get this straight. It's come out in the foreign press. I have military sources who 2 years ago told me they were considering retiring early out of the military, people that have been over 20 years, and leaving the United States because they're so disgusted and freaked out by the open training to take on the American people. That's now all public. The FEMA camps, the gun confiscation, the armored vehicles, the bullets, the Army time, Stars and Stripes, all admitting the preparations for war domestically against libertarians, returning veterans, gun owners, Christians. This is all now passé. It's all over the news. Well, of course we're training to take you on. You're the main terror threat. They're just normalizing it ahead of actually trying to do it. When they build this stuff in secret. They train in secret. But then when they start openly announcing it, on the news saying, we'll arrest you if you talk bad about Obama. We've played those news clips, the truth squads. That's when they're really trying to acclimate and hide it in plain view so the police and military and others and judges all kind of follow the herd, the tyrannical train here. They all get hooked up to it and just play ball. The message is going out. It's also a form of intimidation that, yeah, okay, we are training to put you in camps. We are training to take your guns. What you going to do about it? So the military's all completely freaking out about this. And they're also freaked out. The cherry on top is that at bases in Jordan, in bases in Iraq, I forgot Iraq, and Turkey, and all over surrounding this poor country, Syria, they are injecting jihadis who shoot up convoys of cars on the highway. Because if you haven't joined them, they kill you. They killed 40-something men, women, and children just today, and then pose with the dead bodies. They're attacking the Suez Canal and military bases in Egypt. When the Egyptian military fights back, our media says, how dare them attack protesters and activists. Our crazy, banker-run, globalist-controlled government is publicly funding jihadis worldwide. And the military, many of them that have, lost hearing, lost loved ones, lost fingers, toes, legs, arms, they are just absolutely seething. Obama is now bragging of what a tough guy he is, that he doesn't need congressional authorization, even though he admits he wants it. The truth is, under law, he does need it. They've always been attacking in the last 2.5 years. Syria, they now just want to escalate the whole war. And so now Obama wants to look like he can pull the punches. He can throw the punches. He can do whatever he wants, regardless of what Congress does. So he's bragging about the CIA and the commandos they're sending in. Well, that's what they have. They have CIA, sheep-dipped former special forces is what they are. Most of them contractors, so they get killed. They can deny they were ever there. And they send them in to Syria to engage in every form of mass murder you can imagine. Blowing up churches, poisoning water supplies, shooting up convoys of cars driving down highways, lasing military targets so they can be fired upon with different types of ground-to-ground missiles, ground-to-air missiles. It is just an orgy of jihadi behavior. Ganging up with the whole West against one little country to go in and commit absolute mass murder and to put the country under Sharia law and to persecute Christians. I mean, this is really incredible. And to see Lindsey Graham and other neocons out there cheerleading this and giving Obama right cover, prodding him, saying, how dare you don't, take action against Assad when he gassed his own people, when it's been admitted they can't prove Assad did it. And Pat Buchanan and Ron Paul and Rand Paul and yours truly and countless others have said there's video of the rebels firing it. The rebels have done it before and been caught. It's in the Turkish news that's anti-Syria, anti-Assad, going back 6 months ago in the big Turkish newspapers. I've got it here on the stack. I'm going to go over it. It's in the Turkish news that they caught Syrian rebels, Al-Qaeda rebels, sneaking back into Turkey with chemical weapons 6 months ago. What, in February? almost 7 months ago. I mean, anybody who actually studies just even mainstream media, because this stuff's all buried in the news, knows about this. Even the controlled press can't hide this stuff. They just try to say it's no big deal. So the issue is the whole false flag narrative has imploded. And they may even go ahead with the bombardment. They may be able in another 6 months to actually kick Assad out. But what are they going to do then when the world watches Al-Qaeda put the country under Sharia law, sexually mutilate all the young girls, kick the women out of college, put burqas on their heads? What is the world going to do in 2 years if the West is able to kick Assad out when we're having to bomb the Al-Qaeda who was put in? It's then time to have indictments of Obama and the other war criminals that did this. It is, to put it bluntly, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people than to physically kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. Zygmunt Brzezinski from his new Bookie Wookie. The point is that he's upset. He came out last week on Thursday and said, quote, the alternative media is absolutely derailing our operations in Syria. And that we're not doing this now anymore in the dark. Everyone's watching us. As soon as the public figures out how exciting it is to become aware of geopolitical systems and how the world works and all the different factoids and all the players, now you're not concerned about the Dallas Cowboys versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're not worried about the Miami Heat versus the LA Lakers. You're not worried about how many pounds some movie star has lost or who her new boyfriend is. It's like a joke once you wake up to people even care about that stuff. It's only useful to interview celebrities to then reach out to their fan base who are in the Matrix. And then they're already interesting celebrities because they're awake, so it's fun to talk to them. But other than that, it means nothing. It means nothing. The minute people learn how to, instead of learning baseball scores, to learn about different mortar delivery systems or different nanotech microplasms being put in the vaccines, or once you get into studying what the technocrats study, but from the perspective of liberty, you will never care about LeBron James again. I will assure you. You won't be able to help yourself. I mean, I can go to a party where there's a football game on and kind of get into the game if it's a good game, close, and yeah, hey, the team's winning. I mean, but it's still like I've dressed up in a Batman cape and I'm playing Batman and Robin with my son when he was 5. I mean, I did that. I ran around the yard, ran around the house as Batman with my kids chasing me, but you still feel a little goofy when the neighbor looks over and you wave at him and you're in a Batman outfit. I put on a cape and a Batman outfit. And the neighbor's looking, you're like, hi, Bob, how you doing? It's like, hey, Alex, how you doing? I'm playing with Rex here. I mean, I can go watch a football game, but it's kind of like go through the checkpoint, have them grab your scrotum, go in, everybody watching you, watching how pathetic everybody is with glassy looks in their eyes. Their whole tribalism that's meant to defend their family and their culture now shunted off into this whole sick game.
Well, I'm of the Eastern Orthodox faith, and I'm mostly Slavic background. Here's why I'm against this whole thing. There are videos on YouTube of these rebel clowns parading our nuns through the streets with their hands up like prisoners with AK-47 at their backs. There are also videos on YouTube of these rebel clowns beheading our Orthodox priests in the street. As far as I'm concerned, these rebels are filth, and I do not care what Assad does with them or the Russians do with them. They're dogs, and they should die like dogs.
Well, that's what all my military sources are saying, but the White House responds by saying, you're a fake caller. You don't exist as active military. But everybody I talk to, Doc, says the same thing you're saying. Let me ask you this question. When you talk to other members of the military, what percentage are upset about this?
80%, 90% on up.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
The people that I know, they're true spec ops and true vets and ex either State Department, DIA, or CIA guys, including older guys from the Cold War. They've said to me that this has false flag written all over it.
This is now a big firestorm as Rand Paul comes out and says, I don't want to send our boys over there to fight for Al-Qaeda against Christians, to impose Sharia law in Syria. And in two different shows, the McLaughlin Group and Newsmax, Pat Buchanan comes out and says it's clearly a false flag staged event. Ron Paul says it. Rand Paul says it. This is panicking the system. Then thousands of military personnel take photos of themselves with a sheet of paper saying, I don't want to fight on the side of Al-Qaeda in Syria. Wake up, America. And mainstream media claims military revolt against Obama is a hoax. Even though these people have this on their own Facebook and their own Twitters, some of them are officers saying who they are. Watch them start trying to court-martial them. I'd like to see them actually get convicted. It isn't going to happen. And it's this type of action that brought down Ceausescu in Romania, that brought down the Soviet Union. If the military wakes up and the police wake up and start realizing the paradigm of how the globalists are funding radicals to attack us so they have a pretext to take our liberties, it's game over. That's why this is such a big deal. And Obama was going to launch this new war, expand the old war to open air bombardment because his Al-Qaeda forces are losing. Now that's imploding. There's a good chance they're not going to get the votes in the House. That's coming out now. Rand Paul and others have talked to the folks in the House. Boehner is in there saying, well, we need to vote for military action because of what Assad did. It's been proven that the rebels did it. It's certainly not been proven that Assad did it. Years ago, he'd tell his buddies about this, and they just couldn't believe it. But now, because they heard all this before, now that they're seeing it happen again, now they're fully waking up. And that's why you see, as the earlier caller said, 80 to 90% of the Special Forces guys that he works with are awake and very upset. Well, of course, because they're involved in all the secret stuff, folks. They have to go actually train. Can you imagine having to train jihadis who they bring in and who they tell to cut off their beards and they tell to, you know, not upset the troops and just get their training? But these guys start shooting their mouths off and start getting in arguments with the Special Forces who've got, you know, tattoos that say infidel on them. Most of them you run into have like infidel on their forearm or on their trigger finger or other expletives towards Muslim extremists. Can you imagine these guys are all in there together and they're having to train them? I mean, there's fights breaking out. I've been told about them shooting each other. I mean, this is really bad, folks. The troops have to train Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda Light and all this other garbage. And it's incredible. And they are burning up and blowing up the churches. They are engaging in all this. And the military is at the breaking point over this. In fact, I can't believe it's gone this far. And I don't know what the breaking point is going to be. But the New World Order has really miscalculated. They've jumped the shark. And we could not have done any of this without you. And we're changing history. I'm not taking credit for more than maybe 5% of it. It's probably a lot more than that, but it's kind of scary to realize that. But we actually study the reality, put out the most accurate info we can, no matter how painful it is, tell it like it is, let the chips fall where they may, and then over the years, it gets picked up by others. They look at it. They research it. And then new events happen. People research it. They know what to look for. And boom, the truth comes out. We knew 2 days after the underwear bombing that a U.S. government agency got the drugged Muttalib on the plane. We had a lawyer and his wife on who were there and saw him put on the plane. Kurt Haskell was a listener, was aware of false flag. He was watching him the whole time. And later, everything Kurt Haskell said came out in congressional testimony. Indeed, the CIA put the drugged Muttalib on the plane with a firecracker in his pants as the pretext to roll out all the naked body scanners. There's just one example of hundreds of things we've broke here. We break the rebels launching the chemical attack on video. We're a platform for others expanding on that, like WorldNet Daily. I mean, when I realize the amount of stuff we're actually breaking, the amount of things that we're actually paradigm shifting, it is incredible. And I'm not on a power trip. I feel unworthy and pathetic every day when I get up here. That, Alex, you've got to cover this. Oh, you've got to cover that. And then a guest brings up something and I go, oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot this. And I mean, it's a train wreck a lot of days, but it's real and people know that. But this is not scripted. This is the opposite of teleprompter TV or radio. This is the opposite of talking points. This is study history, study the present, study what the globalists want, what they're trying to build. I want to shift people's paradigm. It's interesting saying Obama is a snake, time to turn on him. Again, that's something that a lot of the progressives and real liberals don't have the nerve to do, but Sean Stone does. As really a historian, he's got his award-winning series on history. But usually when I get Sean Stone on, it's not about his dad because he's done a lot of stuff on his own right. And I'll imagine down the road when my son's doing interviews, he'll be sick of hearing about me. But that is newsworthy what your dad has said. I think that's a good segue into Syria. Your take on the state of the world, Sean Stone. What do you make of your father's bold stance and why he said that?
Hey, Alex. Yeah, no, I think he came to the realization in the course of this history series as to what Obama's really about. You know, we said it last year, you and I, when we did the Impeach Obama video. And actually, you know, I want to reiterate the fact that, remember, in the Impeach Obama video, we started out by saying that Congressman Walter Jones said that if Obama commits us to war in Syria without going through Congress, he should be impeached. And that was 1 year ago. So it's important to remind people that we were you know, on point then, and it's still relevant, and it's still an important source for people to go to and look at, as the Impeach Obama 2012 video, or go to impeachobama2012.com. So I think now even more, 1 year later, we were a little bit ahead of the curve there. But now even, you know, people like my father are coming out and saying it. I think many people feel that way, more and more probably from both left and right.
Wow,
yeah.
Sean Stone joins us right now. I want to play this clip since we mentioned it of your father just a few weeks ago in Japan speaking out and saying it's time to turn on Obama. Here's that clip.
Obama is a snake. He's a snake. And we have to turn on him. I know he likes snakes, but...
And that's the short clip. Everybody's probably seen the long clip. It's up on Infowars.com. We played it a few weeks ago. But the point here is that the reason you got to turn on Obama is he's the more effective of evils. He's able to sell the globalist agenda, whereas a stuffy George Bush or Bill Clinton couldn't do it as well. It's the cult of Obama must be destroyed. Do you agree with that, Sean Stone? And let's talk about the latest developments in Syria.
Yeah, 100% I agree. I think that the point is that he's the great deceiver, and that's why people, you know, have called him the Antichrist or whatnot, because he's the one who promises hope and change, but he comes from a completely deceptive point. In fact, you know, I believe that he's either under hypnosis or I'm pretty sure, 100% sure he uses hypnosis in his speeches.
Oh, he does NLP. That's on record.
Yeah, 100%. But whether or not he himself is hypnotized or under mind control, that's another possibility. And I'm not entirely sure what he is, because to me, Obama is a phenomenon that doesn't exist. You know, no one quite knows who he is.
No one knows who he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very mysterious. Almost like Hitler, if you think about the context. If someone who had that, well, again, always they bring foreign entities, don't they? You know, whether it's Stalin from a Georgian taking over Russia, whether it's Napoleon Bonaparte from Corsica taking over France, whether it's Hitler from Austria taking over Germany, Obama not from the United States taking over the United States. It's interesting to see these similarities historically. But when I say Hitler, I just mean the fact that he had this, as Hitler does, Obama has this tremendous ability to make people listen and believe him when he speaks. And it's a very persuasive form of hypnosis that he uses, and far more dangerous than Bush is, because Bush was basically a jackass, and he knew it, and he spoke that way, and you knew what it was. You knew the quantity that it was. Obama, you don't really know how evil this guy can get.
There is a signal broadcast every second of every day through our television sets, even when the set is turned off. Our impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. They have created a repressive society, and we are their unwitting accomplices. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. To keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated. They are dismantling the sleeping middle class. More and more people are becoming poor. We are their cattle. We are being bred for slavery. They want benign indifference. They want us drugged. We could be pets. We could be food. But all we really are is livestock.
He aligns himself with the truth, and it's time for you to choose a side. You're listening to Alex Jones.
All right, folks, we're brought in with a little bit of the theme music from They Live. The really good part is where it goes, dum dump, dump. But I tell you, it is one of my favorite all-time movies, and it really gets you to think outside the box. And, of course, I grew up watching him on television as well. It's super exciting to have Roddy Piper on with us today from Los Angeles. They're in Sean Stone's living room. Both guys are with us. And, you know, it's great. I've gotten to be good friends with Jesse Ventura. I know these two guys are friends as well, or have been in the past. And so now I get to talk to both of them. And Mr. Piper, formerly, of course, born Roderick George Toombs, it is great to have you on the worldwide broadcast, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Would you mind just introducing me every place I go? Fantastic introduction.
Well, it's great to have you on. I tell you, so much is happening in the world, but let's get into They Live. You've been in a lot of movies, but what's your take on the 25th anniversary of They Live?
It's really interesting. The movie They Live, when it was made, was more about Reaganomics at the time. But with the, as music lulls you to sleep, conspiracies, one of the things that the movie has done is it's taken on a life of its own. It never gets old as we see the world evolve and try to make us a little chip. The same thing's happening over and over again. You watch They Live, and it gives you, it's kind of like the Cliff Notes for what's going on.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, you've got the part where the drone flies over you, and you go, hello there, my little friend. And now I've actually videotaped drones twice in Austin watching people at the park. Now I'm actually living and They Live.
Yes, and it's an awkward place to live, I'll be honest with you. John Carpenter, when we shot the scene with the homeless people, he actually used the homeless people there. John is a big activist.
And it's amazing to see everything we've talked about, Sean Stone and I and others, is now just mainstream. Do you think the world is putting on the black sunglasses more and more?
Oh, the cow. I think that, I think the world, you know what, I think the world, the real men of the world have to stand up and say, I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.